Excuse me. Thanks, Kelly. All right, Marcus Cantos. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Marcus Cantos. I've served 20 years as an elected reptile industry representative, 20 years on the Animal Industry Council, and I've been on the board of the state lab since its inception because the Florida Department of Ag industry collaboration is highly valued. How did we get to this place where every species in the pet industry is invasive and must be banned? The history is very important. For over 50 years, Florida's reptile industry flourished with very few incidents. And then in 2005, when Burmese pythons began turning up, 17 of us, the leaders of the reptile industry, were summoned to Tallahassee by FWC leadership, where we were briefed on the situation before the press got the story. And we were recruited to work in cooperation with FWC, preventing anything like this from ever happening again. No more Burmese python stories was the message and catchphrase at this meeting, and we did. We held up our end. A black eye for FWC was a black eye for us and for Florida. Florida's reptile industry was all over this. FWC developed the Conditional Species Program, which carefully regulated species that had the potential to become established in Florida. And together with our responsible industry, this program was 100% successful. Not one of the conditional species has ever become established in Florida. Suddenly, conditional species wasn't enough. They had to be banned. FWC then banned yellow anacondas preemptively, even though not one has ever been found in the wild. We all heard the recording of FWC staff promising Commissioner Kellum at the 2019 Commission meeting that staff wouldn't ban any more species. So why would staff now want to throw away 15 years of successful FWC industry collaboration? Because coming up through the ranks to lead staff today are essentially invasive species biologists. No matter your background, to run a large organization, leadership must equally factor in all aspects of the organization. There's the law enforcement side, the legal side, the resource and budgeting side, and the biologist side. But not just the biologist side. The last three directors saw the wisdom in this approach, and they saw 15 years of successful and cooperative partnership with industry, keeping Florida's environment safe. Now by first prohibiting yellow anacondas, and then 16 more species, and now another list is being drawn up. Staff leadership has made it crystal clear they want to ban every species our industry works with, not a percentage, all our species. Not because they're turning up and establishing in Florida, not because even one person has ever been apprehended turning non-native species loose, because they haven't, but because to an invasive species biologist, everything must be banned. It's in their blood. In the past, prudent staff leadership used to carefully manage conservation, the needs of the public, and the needs of the stakeholders. This staff leadership eyes commission appointments the way lawyers watch Supreme Court appointments, looking for people they feel they can convince of their own personal agendas. This staff leadership doesn't seek collaboration with industry, it rejects it. Imagine if the pandemic worked this way, if there were no collaboration with private industry. There would be no choice of 3 vaccines. There would be no vaccines at all. Industry brings resources, it brings experience, it brings expertise, and it brings success. The reality of how this process works. Staff picks the issues they feel they can successfully spin in the press. Then they shamelessly cherry-pick the science that works best for their position. No matter how out of context or lacking of peer review or wholly inaccurate it may be, then they present it to you commissioners in as much time and detail as they need. Then they line up sympathetic friends and NGOs to speak to you as stakeholders, not in 3 or 6 minutes, but untimed, still claiming fairness. And then they watch as the public and the stakeholders struggle to respond in just 3 or 6 minutes. So too often, stakeholders can best be heard or only be heard in court. Current staff leadership would have you believe that Florida is in the middle of some new urgent crisis. It's not. Iguanas were turned loose by one private individual over 70 years ago. Staff loves to give high numbers of invasives in Florida, but staff will never tell you that the overwhelming majority of these were loose 40, 50, and 60 years ago, long before our industry organized, became responsible, and collaborated with FWC. The chairman said he missed looking into the faces of stakeholders in the in-person meetings, and yet in the February meeting, there were 16 of our industry species were banned. I can count to you more than 70 stakeholders whose phone calls never got heard. You commissioners never got to hear from stakeholders who directly employ tens of thousands of Floridians, killing a big chunk of a multi-billion-dollar industry of hardworking people who have devoted their lives to this work. Ban one species, then a list of 16 more. Now another list on the drawing board. Mussolini said you can pluck a chicken one feather at a time and no one will notice. Well, we noticed, And now we need you commissioners to notice. We need Governor DeSantis to notice. And we need the over 5 million American households who responsibly keep reptiles to notice. And we need the 85 million American households who keep pets to notice this oppose the ban everything approach that this staff leadership embraces for all the wrong reasons. At the February virtual meeting, and again yesterday, the chairman said that the entire country was watching Florida's handling of this, and they are. And they're seeing FWC go back on its word, reneging on the agreement that was made 15 years ago that has been 100% successful. And they're seeing FWC break its promise from just 2 years ago. What all of America is seeing is not only unethical, but it is anti-pet, anti-animal, and simply un-American. Previous leadership collaborated with industry. Current leadership wants the issue, not the solution. The current leadership is the master of spinning public perception. You'll often hear from them how a pet owner could let this go, or someone might release that. If someone drives DUI, you don't pull all cars off the road because of one bad actor. You address and fix the problem. The February final rule ban called for FWC to set up a working group to work with the reptile industry. 6 months and not a word. I heard yesterday, and I had also myself read through the FWC mission and values. I read things like science-informed, collaborative, ethical, public trust, incorporate multiple perspectives into decision-making, science-based. You heard it yesterday from the duck hunters. You hear it from stakeholders regularly. You hear it from us today, 2 days in a row. This time it's not the messenger, it's the message.
Thank you, Mr. Cantos.
Thank you.